Hey everyone, welcome. I call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Okay, I'll hand it to Sonia for a roll call.
Okay, Commissioners, Sue, Commissioner Lau, absent, Commissioner Liu. Is that you, Harley? Commissioner, Chair Misra.
Here.
Sorry, I should have said Vice Chair Liz. Sorry about that. Commissioner Gao, Commissioner Prakash, Commissioner Deshmuth, Commissioner Halambi.
Here.
And Commissioner Kumar. Absent. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now on to ceremonial matters and presentations. Our first item, subject is budget and bites presentation, and recommended action is receive a presentation on budget and bites from Senior Management Analyst Tony Osei Anderson. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yes, that was great. Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Thank you so much. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here to personally invite you all to attend our annual community budget meeting, Budget and Bites. Each year, the city hosts a community budget workshop to engage on a specific budget topic. This year, we will be focusing on OpenGov, which is the city's financial transparency tool. Staff will provide an overview of OpenGov and showcase the different tools that are available to all Cupertino residents. This will also include an interactive segment where attendees will have an opportunity to participate in a scavenger hunt to try to find data in OpenGov for a chance to win prizes. There'll also be an opportunity for a Q&A session between staff and attendees. So just quickly, if in case you're wondering, what is OpenGov, a financial transparency tool? Basically, you can explore the city's budget and historical finances. It benefits residents because it provides you all with real-time data, improves transparency, builds public trust, and helps residents gain an understanding of government finances. So it's an opportunity where you can interactively explore the city's financial data instead of reading lengthy financial documents. If you know, our budget document currently is at 600 pages. And so, learning how to utilize OpenGov will help you kind of slice and dice the data that you want to see regarding city's finances. So basically, again, the portal allows you to monitor budgets. You can drill down into various filters, and then you can also download data for deeper analysis. All of these features really just make it easy for residents to digest all of the city's financials. So with that said, I highly encourage you all to attend our Budget and Bikes workshop. It is going to be held this Monday, April 13th, as highlighted on the flyer. It's in the evening. The first part is hybrid, so you can join via Zoom or in person at Community Hall. And the second part is going to be the interactive scavenger hunt, which is going to be held in person. And I believe we already mentioned it, and it does show on the flyer that there will also be some pizza provided as well. So that is what I wanted to share with you all today. Are there any questions at this time?
Thank you so much. Are there any questions? Okay, seems like there's no questions at this time.
No questions. Okay, great. I think, I hope you all are, if you're available, please attend. We're trying to have a, as many people in our community attend and learn more about what OpenGov has to offer. But I also wanted to ask, we'd like to get the teens also more involved in the city's budget processes. I'd like to ask if, do you have any suggestions for how we can get the teen community more involved in future budget processes?
Should
Yeah, that's a good time to just ask the question. Can you hear us okay, Tony?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, just make sure you speak loudly so she can hear too.
Okay.
Yeah, just ask if there's any questions.
Okay, are there any suggestions?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like one of the things that would maybe get teens going to this event a lot more often is like mentioning finances that are related to teens, like how is funds for school managed or whatever. Like or whatever the lane you live on. A lot of students are also like they're into business or that field. So like if you could maybe include a sector that sort of connects that big dock of budget into what they've been learning in like business class or whatever, that would definitely get a lot more teenagers to come to these events.
Yeah, I was
Mhm.
gonna something pretty similar, like business clubs is a great idea. Sorry, business classes or like business clubs such as like DECA or FBLA. I know there's a lot of projects involved in clubs as well as in class as well. So maybe reaching out to like some of like the school districts or reaching out to some of these clubs would be probably a good idea, especially for like the people interested in something like finance. So yeah.
Appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, I had with clubs especially, a lot of times the kinds of projects that they work on to submit to competitions and conferences, sometimes they involve like financial analyses of real world corporations or sometimes like other systems, which could include cities. So I feel like they would really enjoy having, getting to know how to use this tool. So if there's like flyers or what we can do is just spread the word in these specific communities in our business classes and our business clubs about the event.
Mhm. That would be great. I appreciate that feedback. And so moving forward, if say if we have another event coming soon, would it be just best to kind of just reach out to you all, I guess via email and connect that way? Or just let me know what would be best in terms of starting those types of conversations of how we can make this like, a successful, just partnership, like a collaboration. On working on the city's, educating the public or educating everybody about the city's finances and utilizing these types of resources. Would
For
it?
sure,
Mhm, mhm,
you could email our liaison, Sonia,
mhm.
email to the team commission email. I think we all get that email forwarded to us. And of course, if there's flyers you'd like us to like put up in our like bulletin boards, you can come drop them off at a meeting and we can take some.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Were there any more suggestions? Okay, are there any questions? Is there any public comment?
There is nobody online and I don't have any speaker cards, so no.
Okay, any comments? Okay, thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you all. Nice to meet you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Danny.
Okay, now we'll move on to item 2. Subject is youth-led organization unmuted tabs, and recommended action is receive a presentation from youth-led organization unmuted tabs for Teen Commission Highlight Program.
Give me a sec, guys.
Sure.
I'm seeing it here now. There we go. You're all set.
Good evening. This is Almira Tabs, a teen health podcast created by teens for teens. My name is Vidavi. I'm a sophomore at Monte Vista High School, and I'm in charge of outreach for our team. And a fun fact about me is that I went on a plane when I was 8 days old. I'm Rishi. I'm also a sophomore at Monte Vista High School, and I'm in charge of event planning. And a fun fact about me is that I've been doing swim and dance for the past 12 years.
Hello, I'm Rishi and I'm a junior at Monte Vista High School and I'm in charge of social media. And a fun fact about me is I can play 5 different instruments.
When we were researching about challenges that teens face across the Bay Area, we found 3 major challenges. First is social pressure, future preparation, and internal emotional regulation. For social pressure, many teens feel like they're not being included in everything or they aren't experiencing everything around them, and which makes them have a negative view on themselves or maybe towards how they're living. Secondly is a negative social environment and toxic relationships, as they often have a negative impact on a teen's mental health. And toxic relationships and negative environment can also be physically harmful to a teen, but will always also be uh, uh, harmful to a teen's mental health. And as teens grow up, they also face disconnection with parents. As teens grow up into young adults, they often feel like they have different views or values compared to their parents, and this often leads to a disconnection with them. Additionally, as teens also are growing up and managing high school with everything else, they often feel like they don't have enough time to devote to their family or parents and have a disconnection due to that. And lastly, they also face imposter syndrome, where they might try everything they can, for example, studying or getting straight A's and showing up for all their friends for all their important things, but still feel like they're undeserving of all the accomplishments they have.
Adding on to the previous challenge, I think future planning is also one of the biggest problems or challenges amongst Bay Area teens especially, such as career planning. The pressure to figure out future early, such as major, career, life path, can feel like everyday decision is permanent, which leads to anxiety and fear of making the wrong choice. And also parental pressure does not help in this instance, because I know a bunch of expectations around grades, careers, and successes, which can make teens feel judged or not good enough, leading to self-worth becoming tied to only achievements. And this is a recent and very relevant case where AI causes decline in originality, because when you're focused on success, you don't really care about where the source is coming from. So you start overly relying on AI tools for work, leading to less confidence in personal ideas and creativity, leading to students feeling like their own thinking isn't strong enough, and burnout and unproductiveness and overloaded schedules such as school, extracurricular, social life, parental expectations can lead to constant stress, leading to exhaustion.
The third challenge that we discussed as a team was internal emotional regulation, such as anxiety. Many students struggle with anxiety and feel unable to speak to it about it to other people. There is also depression. Teens often feel ignored, or they ignore the signs of depression, like feeling extremely sad or having the inability to carry out daily activities. There's also social anxiety. Students often experience an intense concern with their appearance and a fear of being judged, which makes them avoid social activities. Students also often feel isolated and are too scared to speak about it, leading to a high risk of mental health issues.
A few solutions we came up for these challenges. First, for social pressure, is limiting the triggers. For example, if you find yourself comparing, often for teens, it's through social media, your life to other people's, and you feel like it's having a negative impact, it's probably the time to turn off your phone and focus on the work that you have to do. Second is choosing your social circle carefully. For example, it is important first to draw boundaries with your friends and family to ensure those boundaries are met and not stepped over. And it's also important to choose your circle wisely, as you will choose people in your circle who actually do care about you and want the best for you. And lastly, it is to change the mindset to see the positive in things instead of the negative. If you feel overwhelmed with all the negativity in your life, it is important to make a list of all the things you're grateful for, but the other side saying maybe things you're not happy with. And often the things you're grateful for and positive about will overrule the things that you're not.
A few solutions that we came up for future preparation are finding ways to use AI in a positive way, such as using it as a support tool for brainstorming, explaining, or organizing, which will in turn help reduce stress without replacing thinking. Another solution is to use or teach AI literacy in schools and how to use it responsibly. I feel like there's not enough material that goes around in schools nowadays. And to use AI for outlines and ideas only, not final answers. A personal rule I think you should implement is AI helps me think, not think for me. There are also strategic ways of productivity, like focusing on working smarter, not just harder, which reduces burnout and improves efficiency. A few examples are time block based on energy, where it's hard tasks when most focused instead of the 2 to 3 priority rule instead of long to-do lists. We should also implement schools offering flex deadlines for mental health days, and that can help healthy communication between child and parents. That open up conversations, reduce stress and pressure, and helps teens feel supported instead of judged. I think monthly check-ins about stress, not just grades, can help teens focus more on effort and growth, not just results. And I think that schools should host parent-teen mental health workshops.
Some solutions that we came up with for internal emotional regulations is explaining the differences and causes of anxiety, depression, and isolation. So us as a team, we would break down the core differences between stress and anxiety, which will help students understand that while stress is external, anxiety is responsibility. We will also teach them to become more mindful about what they intake. We'll help students recognize the trap on social media and how comparing themselves to others leads to feeling insecure or isolated. We will also help them find their coping strategy. Everybody has different ways to cope with mental health. Some lean towards puzzles while others lean towards journaling. We will help students find what works best for them.
The major component for our project is to have podcasts. These podcasts will be 30 minutes and we would release them regularly. They would sometimes feature guest speakers to not only help with their credibility, but also to provide better advice from people who have either gone through specific situations or have an expert opinion on it. Our main goal with this is to provide for a true connection and not for something that provides advertisement or any such things. One way we want to do this is by having anonymous surveys for people to fill out, not only for feedback, but also to ask questions that we could answer in our podcast or personally.
Another way that we plan on doing this is by social media outreach. Primarily, we'll be using Instagram where we will post our research regarding mental health to make topics like anxiety and stress easy for students to understand. We will also be using TikTok for behind the scenes to show the authentic, unfiltered side of our work, helping to break down the unrealistic images that often kids see on social media. We also have a website where you can find the topics that we discuss in our episodes, along with links to access podcasts and also the anonymous form previously mentioned. We will also use Spotify and YouTube where we will regularly post the podcast episodes.
And lastly, we will use community advocacy to implement this. We will participate in local community fairs to promote mental health awareness. These events will help us reach people beyond our school community. We want to create interactive and engaging ways to start conversations about mental health. So we will collaborate with other established Bay Area clubs to expand our reach and impact. Working together will bring diverse perspectives and ideas, and partnerships help normalize mental health discussions across different groups. We will also work with the Cupertino Public Library to connect with the broader community and help share accessible mental health resources through trusted spaces. And lastly, we will host or support events that encourage open conversations. Our goal is to make mental health awareness more inclusive and once again, this is a teen mental health podcast by teens for teens. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for that presentation, everyone. Now it's time for questions.
Yeah, so for like on your last slide for this one. Sorry, but you mentioned that like you're working with other clubs in the Bay. Do you have any like specific examples of that or?
So currently we were planning on partnering with Cyber for Youth to have a podcast about cybersecurity.
Could you provide some impacts, just any sort of impacts that or any examples of impact, like numbers or anything like that that your club has had so far?
As a growing club, we haven't had like the biggest following or anything right now, but we do aim to have bigger following and obviously have a bigger viewership. But right now we have been focusing on Instagram, and making like a website for people to access and learn about us before they start listening to our podcasts.
Like on the Insta post or on the website is what do you actually post about or put on the website?
So on Instagram, we might post about the coming up podcasts. We also might focus on posting about certain mental health related problems that teens face, for example, anxiety, depression, as Nishi said before. And on our website, we have the anonymous survey, and also we will be uploading our podcasts for easy access.
Like Ivy said, we already posted something on our Instagram, and it was just research on like teen mental health and like anxiety and how to regulate that as a day-to-day student.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. I just have a few questions about, like you guys mentioned that you guys are very podcast oriented, so I just wanted to get an understanding of what's been done so far. Like, for example, what are like some of the podcasts you've published? What are some of like the guest speakers, stuff like that?
So currently we are planning a collaboration with Cyber for Youth, and it should be coming out pretty soon. And then we might have another one coming in later with another organization called State of Mind. And we're just reaching out to other organizations.
That sounds good. Okay, and then I also noticed you guys mentioned something about mental health days, like having like a day off from school. So I was just wondering, like, how do you plan on getting this passed? Like, are you guys considering it being an official holiday, an FUHSD holiday, California? Like, I just want to understand like what was.
So right now it's not really like implementing it into the FUHSD system. It's just like if you take a day off for mental health, like it should be a legitimate reason to skip school. Like for example, like sick days, like you take a sick day off, like that's a legitimate reason, right? So I think mental health day should be also.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to ask earlier, how long has your organization existed for? And then second, you mentioned advocacy. What does this advocacy actually entail?
We've been active for like 4 to 5 years. So could you like explain on your second question?
Just on your slide, you mentioned advocacy. The main actionable examples seem to go into community fairs. So, for instance, you go to the fairs. What would you talk about at the fairs, and then what other instances of advocacy might you be advocating for, and how might you achieve that advocacy?
So because we're small, I would say we'd probably start by like talking about our research about what we have so far. And then just getting it out there, honestly, and then so people can listen to our podcast, give us more questions to build upon.
Can you like speak about the podcasts you have done so far? Like, what are the topics, and also like, do you know how often you want to post the podcasts? So we haven't released any of our podcasts yet, but we are currently working on our first episode. And right now we want to do one like every month, but we aim to do at least twice, like 2 episodes per month or 2 episodes per 1.5 months or something.
Yes. So adding on to your question about the podcast, like, do you know how many monthly listeners you have on Spotify?
Yeah, sorry, there's a question. Oh, they have it. Oh, it's just a fan roll. Oh, in the 4 months, like.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Like during the 4 months, what have you been prioritizing games?
During the 4 months, we prioritized basically just reaching out. We also did a lot of research where we found professors we could potentially reach out to again for podcast episodes or just feedback or help in general to guide us through our project. And we also planned out our scripts for a few of the podcasts to understand where to have like a clear roadmap and make sure our deadlines.
I noticed that there's a lot of like very similar mental health organizations, like not only youth led, but there's also like a lot of like official government based resources for teenagers. I know like there's like, for example, like suicide prevention line, a lot of like other like .gov resources. So I just want to ask, like, what is something new that you guys bring to the table compared to these other pretty like recently established organizations?
So we want to focus starting small. So right now we're focusing mainly Bay Area teams. which is not really something that's in the media right now. Like I know there's like a bunch of teen mental health podcasts, like teen mental health resources, suicide prevention hotline, like you said, but there's not really Bay Area teen mental health information going around right now. So that's what we want to get out.
I also want to be very like truthful and unfiltered about everything we share about, as we said before, which means that we don't want to like false advertise anything or put or maybe make like a specific mental health issue seem like it's not very important or anything. And in terms of making it different, we want to, again, like she said, we want to make it small and then grow it, which means that we can focus starting small, which means that we can focus on local communities first before we spread out, which means that when we're focusing on local communities, we can talk one-on-one. And through our anonymous surveys, we can also get questions and feedback to improve how we deal with or how we decide to act with our project.
Yeah, when you say like the unfiltered, unfiltered, yeah, response about that question, like we're gonna provide more truthful or like more blunt responses. How exactly have you done that so far?
Well, I think they mentioned that podcasts so far, so.
You guys did mention that you have like the Instagram, um, the website. I remember like I think when answering one of the questions, you mentioned something about an anonymous reporting form. I was just wondering how that was going, if you guys got any engagement and like in the future, if there were to be any like reports, what exactly would be done about those?
Well, obviously, if it is an emergency, we're, like the anonymous form is filled out by someone who is in an emergency. Obviously, that's not something we would deal with because we aren't, I guess, capable of dealing with it or certified to deal with such situations. But if there are like small problems, like maybe like a teen is facing problems with their friend group, or they're having trouble communicating things with their friend group, and they would just ask a simple question like that, we would probably answer that in our podcast anonymously, or we would just answer it to them personally.
I have some quick questions. So as a relatively new organization, what is your plans for finding funding to fund all of these things?
So basically our project doesn't require a lot of funding because it is podcast, which is just which means we just have to invest our time, creating our scripts, reaching out to people and recording, editing, all of that. And we don't really have to, like have funding for events unless we do for community advocacy. If we were to do like a fair that is hosted by us specifically, we would have that. But since we haven't really plan on doing that, we just plan on collaborating with already existing groups, like for example the Cupertino Library, established organization, have a fair, or maybe when I think the Cupertino Park has a fair, we can have a stall there and explain about our project there.
Okay, so you already have like the podcasting equipment and stuff? Okay, cool. And so how do you plan to go beyond general advice that teens would already get? Because it seems like you're trying to address like a gap here, right? For teen mental health. How do you plan to like offer something different to teens? Given the fact that a lot of people in this age group do end up hearing things like just get off your phone, stuff like that. Like where does your advice specifically come from and how do you work on making it relatable or actionable or anything else?
So as we said, we want to make it unfiltered and like we may not have evidence for such things right now. But I think one way we could make it unfiltered is by providing like our specific stories. Like me personally, I find myself procrastinating so many times. And like it takes time to build discipline, but maybe just sharing like a story about how I work on my discipline and just being like truthful about it and just sharing that to people and teens hearing about it could just feel like a sense of more connection as they know that like someone out there in the Bay Area specifically going to maybe their same school or in the school same school district is facing the same thing. And it's okay, completely okay for them to feel a little unproductive or overwhelmed sometimes, but as long as they keep working on maybe like for me, their discipline being out there.
I think adding on to Nadavi, being barrier teens ourselves, I think we already have some of that personal connection already gapped or like met. Because I remember like talking to a senior of mine, and she was telling me about how she procrastinated, like and all this, and like her mental health issues, and I found it like way more comforting and more relatable when she told me about it.
Got it. Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead.
I was just wondering, like how do you advertise? Say you're like focused on like Bay Area, do you like reach out to schools or like how do you advertise that? And also, I think Samantha sort of touched on this, but have you gotten any responses on your form? So for the advertising part, we have reached out to obviously a few clubs for potential collaboration, so we can talk to them since they are already established, they're well known, and if we collaborate with them, it might make us more well known too. And then for the anonymous survey, we have just released the link, so we aren't sure if we have gotten answers to that. Final questions for me?
I just wanna ask, like, what's the, like, long-term, like, goal of the podcast? Because, like, after maybe, like, a couple years, right? Like, you guys might graduate from senior year, would you continue from there? Or, other stuff such as, like, how do you keep coming up with more topics, right, to split out 2 episodes every month or so?
So I think mental health is a topic that's constantly changing. So definitely like passing it on to people for the ones that know the best. So I think, yeah, so we probably continue it like by sharing it, making it bigger.
Okay, thank you for the questions and thank you for all your answers. Is there any public comment?
There actually may be, they don't, let's see, they don't have their hands raised, so, I do have one person online. They do not have their hand raised, so, no, we don't have any public comment.
Okay. Okay. Since there's no public comment, is there any final comment from the commission? Okay. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. Now we're moving on to our third item. The subject is City of Cupertino Summer Jobs Presentation, and recommended action is receive a presentation on City of Cupertino Summer Jobs from Recreation Coordinator Mariah Green.
Hello, some of you might recognize him from being out at events, especially the Rockland Arbor Days. You guys again. So I'm just gonna talk to you guys a little bit about our summer recruitment specifically. So our department, we recruit in a couple areas, mostly for like part-time seasonal summer positions. So we have a few different options. We have recreation leaders, senior recreation leaders, customer service attendants, lifeguards, and then we also recruit during the same time for our LIT program, the Leader in Training program. So I'm just gonna talk to you guys, kind of go over some of the areas we have fully staffed, but just so you guys know what we recruit for, we do this every year. So that way you're aware and you can kind of spread the word, or if you're still around in the area, you guys can apply next year. So myself, and my colleague DeMiles, recruit for recreation leaders and senior recreation leaders in a few of our summer camps. So the city of Cupertino offers an array of summer camps. Some of them are through contracted businesses and others are our city-run camps. That's gonna be, the two programs that I oversee. It's the adventure camps and the preschool adventures, and those are all here at this location, Quinlan Community Center. Preschool adventures is for our little guys, so ages 3 to 5. And then adventure camp is actually for kids ages 6 to 11. These camps are kind of like your typical, like summer camp, so like dodgeball, tag, crafts. Just fun stuff to keep them busy and active through the summer. And then we have our summer camps, the nature and science camps out at McClellan Ranch Preserve. That's with my colleague DeMiles. Fun fact about summer camps, we get to, I think one of the first is creating our camp names. So DeMiles out at McClellan, his name's Steelhead. My camp name here is Red Panda. So everybody from me all the way down from senior rec to rec leaders, we all get camp names. So if you see me out here in the summertime, just call me Red Panda. But basically, so the camps out at McClellan, they're nature and science driven. So they do a lot of like walking along the trail. If you guys have ever been out there, they've got like the lizards and the snakes and stuff. They get to eat them and bugs and the tree crawlers over there. So those are the camps over there, and those age ranges are from 6 to 9, so a little bit older, but still kind of the age range of like young children. So the positions that we recruit for later. The recreation leaders, they're kind of like our level 1 staff. So you work in a team of typically anywhere from 6 to 8 team members that you'll be out there with. And you're supervising anywhere from 24 to 40 children all together as a group. And basically you're leading games, planning and programming. So you get to help run the daily schedule, make sure everything's running in accordance with the schedule. Always our number 1 is child safety. So making sure the sites are safe. And really, it's just really fun because you're just like, entertaining kids all day long. So if you know anybody that's interested in that, definitely send them our way. Again, it's for this location or at McClellan. We also have our senior recreation leaders. So those are like a level 2 staff. So basically, senior rec is somebody who's coming to us with a little bit more experience, whether it's in camp life or other jobs, or maybe other volunteer that has a lot of hours with working with children. Basically, you're kind of almost like the site lead. And so you are doing the actual planning and programming. So planning out the schedule, each activity that the kids are doing all day long, planning, helping implement the projects that we're doing, the crafts, any fun special activities. The senior recs are kind of taking leadership of that. As well as being almost in a way like a supervisor on site, because you're the lead out there. So the rec leaders could look to a senior rec as like, hey, we had a change in schedule, what do you think we should do? So you kind of take a little bit more ownership than the rec leaders of the program. And again, that's here and at McClellan. And then we also recruit for positions at Blackberry Farm. So they have a couple different positions available over there through the summer. They recruit typically, which it's unfortunately already full. So we do have customer service attendants, and they help in the kiosk out there. So if any of you guys have been out there, there's the pool out there, and they help kind of check people in over there, process payment, get them ready to get into the pool. And they help also out there at the cafe. I think it's going in the cafe a little bit. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So just kind of your general customer service that you're floating out, being a face to the public and helping anybody with any service needs that come up out there. And then a big recruitment for out there, it's gonna be our lifeguards and swim instructors. So over there, I believe it might still be open, so if you know anybody's that interested, I'm over there soon because training is actually next week. It starts when you guys go on spring break. But basically, the perk of becoming a lifeguard with the city is, we do the certification for you, so, to be a lifeguard, you have to be certified, so basically test out to prove that you can save somebody's life in the water. But a lot of places, you have to go do that on your own and then go work for them. But a benefit for us is we will help you get through that training. So, if you're ever interested, either now or in the future, it's definitely good to keep in mind that, once you apply, it's also at a younger age, 15 and older, so, a little bit of an advantage there. You can apply, be a lifeguard with us, and if you pass the test, if you become a lifeguard, you also have like a dual responsibility of being a swim instructor also. So another benefit for our city is that we offer, private and semi-private swim lessons. So you get to, kind of wear a couple different hats in that position, which is beneficial. Because you're not only just kind of supervising and being eyes on deck as a lifeguard, you're also interacting with parents and children and people within our community as their swim instructor. So there's definitely a couple different benefits to that position. And then to kind of close it out, we recruit for, I think a couple of our leader in training programs, LIT, which has been around for quite a while, that works with us in our summer camp. So here at Quinlan in the adventure camps and preschool adventures, and also at McClellan science camps. So these guys are like almost like a junior instructor. So they're in camps with us to basically learn how we are leaders in camps. And they're also taking leadership roles as well. If someone feels really comfortable, we'll allow them to lead a game, kind of take charge, and if a group's campers needs help setting something up for a game, we'll let the LITs take responsibility that way. It's definitely a really cool, what I've seen through the years in my position. I'm going into my 4th summer now. The camp kind of works in a full circle, so we definitely have campers that become LITs, and then our LITs go through the program and they eventually come, if they're interested, staff with us. So it's definitely a really cool circle to see. You have your community members as campers, and then the volunteers, and then their staff with us. So it's a really enjoyable part of summer camps that I get to watch, and all the staff here. So again, if you know anybody that's interested, we recruit for this every single year. So next year would be a great opportunity. This one is 13 and older. So anybody that's 13 up to 17, they can always come and volunteer with us in our summer programs. LIT is also really nice because they have a pretty flexible schedule. So you just have to give us about 2 to 3 weeks of time within summer. And then you schedule a couple hours through the week with us, and you get to come hang out and have fun with a bunch of kids. So that's kind of our summer recruitment. The city's always recruiting for part-time positions through the year for various roles, but that's specifically for summer and in our camps and other. You guys have questions for me?
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions? I saw this, I was looking at the governmentjobs.com website earlier, and I saw this one position, which I thought was interesting. It was like a summer staff assistant position.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but for the McClellan Ranch one, the minimum age was 18, but for the Quinlan one, the minimum age was 16.
Interesting.
Yeah, so is that like a team focus?
McClellan, sometimes, I'm not 100% sure, but what I'm assuming, so this is just what I think might be happening. Because of McClellan's area, like with the nature, it can get real life situation really quick, especially with like mountain lions or snakes or anything out there. So they may be looking for somebody with more of either a degree or a serious background in nature, whether it's somebody maybe like a past ranger or something like that, that has a lot more very nature-driven experience. Whereas here, our staff assistant is a bit higher role than the senior recs. And they're helping us more on the back end, like set up for camps, dealing with any problems that may arise on a day-to-day basis, getting more behind the scenes and like emailing customers, emailing contractors, things like that. So McClellan also has those roles, but I think because of their location, the position may be a little bit more serious. if you will.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Is there any public comment?
We have no hands raised and have no speaker cards that have been submitted, so no.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, now we're going to move on to approval of minutes. Item number 4, subject is approval of minutes, March 11, 2026. And the recommended action is review and approve the minutes from the teen commission meeting, March 11, 2026. You'll have the copy provided by Sonia.
If you're gonna need air freshener, it smells really sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that. It's maybe.
Whoever's perfume that is, it smells really good.
Is everyone done reading? Okay, are there any questions? Is there any public comment?
No, there's no speaker cards and nobody with their hand raised.
Okay, any comments? Okay, is there a motion?
To approve minutes.
I second.
I'll hand it over to Sonia for the vote.
Sick, just record that. Okay, this is to approve the minutes, so to approve is yes. Commissioner Sue? Commissioner Lau? Absent. Commissioner, Vice Chair Wu?
Yes.
Chair Misra?
Yes.
Commissioner Gao?
Yes.
Commissioner Prakash? Commissioner Deshmukh?
Yes.
Commissioner Halambi?
Yes.
Commissioner Kumar? Motion passes.
Great. So there are no postponements. Are there any failed communications?
There are no speaker cards, no hands raised, so.
Oh, there is no old business. Now moving on to new business, item number 5. Subject is unmuted tabs for Teen Commission Highlight Program. Recommended action is discuss and evaluate unmuted tabs. Youth-led organization highlight program. So can we start?
I'll do a presentation and then question the usual, yeah.
Okay.
Give me 1 sec to get this up. Okay. All right. Thank you for having me, commissioners. I just wanted to start, we're gonna do the evaluation of the youth-led organization, Unmuted Tabs, who did come and present tonight. I just wanted to, sorry, like seeing everybody. I just wanted to, before I go into the evaluation, I take their application, and then I put that into presentation form. However, I did speak to the organization about, the fact that they didn't meet like a lot of the criteria, and I know we were like getting at that with the questions. However, they had been interested in presenting and through some sort of format through the city to have some more exposure as they're getting started. And so just to let you know that I had already indicated to them that, you know, we have this set of criteria, and if they read that, they didn't meet some of the criteria. But that they were welcome to come and present to get their organization out there, and that they can always come back and reapply when they kind of meet some of the criteria. So I'll lead with that. So we're going to review the application. We have our usual questions, which all of you have become very good at remembering to ask them the questions. The organization is Unmuted Tabs, sorry. They do have an Instagram account. They pretty much explained what they are, but they're trying to get a podcast series up and going to talk about mental health. They had written that they've only been active for 2 to 3 months. You can see that they're kind of in like the research phase and getting information about getting up and going on their podcasts. They're planning on doing short-term videos. I think through your questions, you had figured out that they haven't done quite yet their first podcast, but they're making plans. They have plans to pass things over to underclassmen, but because they're just getting started, again, they don't have a plan in place for that quite yet, and they're sophomores in high school. What makes it unique, that I think the unmuted part is what they're trying to maybe emphasize, that it's like uncensored, unmuted, unfiltered, that it's kind of straight talk about mental health awareness for teens and teens specifically in this area. And then I think also that they're trying to get at that they're teens in the Bay Area trying to talk about what they're going through and their shared stories. So I think that that's the plan for their podcast, is to kind of make it like real life, real time, as far as like what's happening in their school in this area with mental health. Okay, so that's just quickly to go through the evaluation from their application. And I'll pass it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Now, are there any questions? We'll do discussion in a bit, but for now, are there any questions?
If they don't meet the requirements, then are we still able to give them a YLO and in that and even whatever the answer, whatever system will we be discussing if they don't meet the requirements?
Definitely, that is 100% up to you as a commission, and those are really guidelines for you to follow. Like if you felt like you were giving too many and you were trying to be discerning, then that's fine to like to stick strictly to your guidelines. But if you feel like, hey, this is an organization that might be worthy of just having a shout out to get started, if we want to support them in that way, that's also an option for you.
Any other questions? Okay, is there any public comment?
There is nobody with their hand raised or online, and there are no speaker cards, so no.
All right, now it's time to comment/discuss. So I'll lead with saying, I think it's a great idea for an organization, but in my opinion, it's too early for this right now.
Yeah, going off of that, I feel like there's really not much to go off of, given that there hasn't been like I remember like when we were asking a lot of questions, they didn't really have anything like podcasts published or like Instagram statistics or anything. I feel like they're still in that development stage, and I also feel like in general the idea was pretty unique, like compared to like I've seen a lot of other organizations do this, a lot of like official like government based do this. So I think like what Sonia said, I definitely agree with. Like definitely recommend like waiting a little bit of like giving them some time to at least discover like what makes them unique and where they want to like really specialize in their organization. And then like they're more than welcome to come back when they have like some more stuff on the table to work with.
Yeah, sort of expanding on that, like, I feel like they have a pretty good cause, but they're, I feel like the way that they approached it was generic, maybe, because like me and like two other people, we could start a podcast. And I feel like one of the things that could have set them apart is their research, right? Like, oh, we have this meaningful data that like 70% of teens feel some way, and then they could expand on their research, and that would make them something unique. But right now, like 2 to 3 months or what, like, I mean, that number doesn't even match it here and there. But in that time frame, they could have definitely worked on like making something that sets them apart. So I don't really feel like they have that with them right now. That makes sense.
Can I add another point of clarification? How they were connected with me as the liaison, that they had approached our communications officer with the city they said, we're a new organization. We're trying to get some exposure to get some, footing with our new organization. Could you help us out? And not realizing we have, you've seen as the teen commission, we have a huge number of organizations that are like, how can the city support us? And we have that ask a lot. And so that is part of your role, is to help us to kind of define, because we can't say yes to every single organization. But so that was the initial ask, is just, hey, we're just this new organization. Could you just put something out for us? And then I was like, hey, we have a process for that. Here you go, here's the application. But they didn't come in understanding, until I routed them to it. They didn't really understand the application. And I was like, it's still worth it to come and to present, because that will give you exposure in and of itself. So they didn't come in thinking that they necessarily met all the criteria. I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan, were you saying something?
Yeah, I wanna add that like a highlight itself would sort of not mean anything, because currently, like, if from a perspective of someone who like caught the attention of them, right? They're gonna be like, oh, let's check out some podcasts I made, but like they didn't make any yet, so there's like no point in trying to um like highlight the fact that they're a spotlight, no, they're a podcast group.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, for sure. Like, if we do give them a highlight, what would we be really highlighting? And the answer is not much, because they don't have podcasts out, which is, according to them, their main goal. I also noticed some inconsistencies between their answers to our questions and their answers on the slideshow. Like, they said 4 to 5 months-ish on, like, I think you were asking, and on the slideshow it said 2 to 3 months. And yeah, so I'm not sure this is the right time.
As Commissioner Deschmuck said, like, the solution seemed kind of boring and generic, like monthly check-ins and like get off your phone. I think I've heard that a lot already. I'm like, I kind of want to see something a bit more unique. And like, when someone from here asked them like, this, they asked them, I don't remember the question exactly, but they said something about how they wanted to focus on Bay Area teens specifically, and from other teens. They said that teen podcasts already do exist, but they wanted to focus on Bay Area teens. But I don't necessarily see the difference as to what like their teen podcast would do compared to an already existing teen podcast, what they've already told us.
Yeah. Everything that's been said, 'cause I feel like for teens, listening to a podcast about mental health isn't like the most interesting thing. And I feel like there's only a few that would actually listen to the whole thing. And I think they just need more time to kind of grasp like what they want to do.
I agree with that. I just think they need a little bit more time, maybe a little bit more work to like put something out there and figure out like what they want to be as an organization. And then after that, I think it would definitely.
This is more about the YLO itself. Do we have like statistics from the city or like whoever runs the city accounts about like how many people like look at the YLO posts or anything like that?
We might, I don't know offhand, on the, I don't know. But we might.
Okay, it sounds like we're all pretty much in agreement here, so I can call for a motion now.
A motion for.
Yeah, like motion.
Should, you can, I'll help you out on this one.
Thanks.
You can, move to, vote to not, give a highlight spot for this particular YLO for unmuted tabs.
I'll second.
And then I'll take the vote in 1 moment. Okay. So the vote is for not giving a highlight spot. So a yes is to not give them a highlight spot. A little confusing. Okay, Commissioner Sue.
Yeah.
Commissioner Lau, absent. Vice Chair Liu,
Yes.
Chair Misra,
Yes.
Commissioner Gao, Commissioner Prakash, Commissioner Deshmukh,
Yes.
Commissioner Halambi,
Yes.
Commissioner Kumar. Okay, motion passes to not give a highlight spot to tabs. Okay. Okay,
Okay, that's all for this item. Thank you for the vote. Now we'll move on to staff and commission reports and I'll hand it back to Sonia.
hi, me again. I have a pretty quick staff report. One, wanted to follow up on a few events that have happened recently. Teen Resource Fair. Who was at Teen Resource Fair? Most of you, so I don't really need to give you a highlight. But maybe just to say that we had this was our 3rd annual, and maybe to get a comment or two from not each of you, but maybe a comment or two about how you felt the day went. I'll hand it over to your chair. How do you feel the day went?
For me, it was very fun. It was very enjoyable to go around, like while I was off my shift a little bit and like walking around, all the booths made it very engaging. I love the fact that it was at Main Street, so you could just grab a boba, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why it's always so popular with the teen community. It was of course pretty hot that day, but that is not really something we can control. Also, a booth was giving out like hand fans, so yeah, nothing, no notes from me. Are there any more comments from people who were there?
I have one. We were right next to youth activity board, and I know that a lot of people like when they came, they did recognize that we were two separate organizations, and they like move on before the other got the chance to present. So maybe like making it more distinct that, team commission is one thing and youth activity board is another.
That's a great point. I remember we were sharing a table, a pretty small table with Yab. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Another thing that actually reminds me of is that I think the flyer for the teen commission might not be up to date with like the picture and stuff. So just for like the next term, maybe that would be something to add in there.
Okay. And I'll stop on the comment just because we don't want to discuss too much since it's not an agenda, but we'll agendize and solicit feedback specifically. And I'll quickly answer. The teen commission recruitment is actually done through the city clerk's office, so I'll pass that along to them. Okay, so Teen Resource Fair, this last weekend we had Earth and Arbor Day Festival. How many were there as speakers? How did that go? Oh, how many were there? I guess just how many are there? And then both of you were MCs. I'm trying to think of the right word. And all went well? Yes. Okay. Good day. The event was good. Great. The this was the first year that, or the second year that Parks and Recreation has run that event, and it was moved into the Civic Center Plaza. It was one unique thing about it. And it seemed from feedback that the flow of that kind of brought everything closer in, made it easier for setup. So it seemed like it was a great day. But thank you for being MCs and for volunteering at the day. Okay, and then also just recently we had our volunteer recognition lunch at the senior center. That's a once a year event that they bring all their volunteers and have a very big event to say thank you for all their volunteer efforts. And coming up this weekend, does anybody know what it is? Hackathon. We're a little bit lower on numbers pre-registered than we were last year, so I would love it if anybody here can get out and like talk it up in your schools. Since we'd love to see a little more participation. But it should be a really fun night, and team coordinator Robert Kaufman, as usual, has a great night planned, and hope to see all of you participating if you can. Okay, I think that's it for my update.
Okay, thank you for the update, Sonia.
Okay.
Now we can move on to future agenda setting. Here, do I ask for suggestions for future agendas?
If anybody has anything, and I'm usually just working with you or working if I get a YLO that wants to present. I will, guess I can do this quickly without the agenda. May traditionally we have actually canceled that meeting because we often run into that all of you are studying for your AP exams or just finished studying or taking the test. So that right now is looking fairly likely that may be canceled.
Okay.
Yeah.
got it. Would that be like a vote we do to cancel?
It may be for lack of business as well, so I'll work with you on that.
Okay,
yeah.
sounds good. Any ideas for future agenda setting from anyone? Okay. Now we can move on to adjournment. I adjourned this meeting at 7:07